Let's start with the question. In RollerCoaster Tycoon, do vehicle crashes always have a probability of occurring? I was playing the scenario Whitewater Park, also known as Aqua Park, which starts off with a water slide, among other rides, already in place. I know water slides are among the rides that have to be carefully designed so that no guest is sent to an early grave thanks to a sharp turn, or by hitting a small incline at too great a speed. During this playthrough, I made no attempt to change the water slide's track or operations in any way. And for 2 years it did not crash. On the third year however, one, and only one, of the dinghies crashed. The crash was far from the station and it exploded off track. So it was not due to a brakes failure. If water slides can even suffer that particular breakdown. Of the guests remaining on the ride, they all completed the circuit and exited without issue. From testing rides before, I know that trains with guests on board can move slightly faster than those without. But the ride had been running with guests on board for years, without a problem. In cases of crashable rides, is there always an element of probability involved in whether vehicles might crash under certain conditions? Is there anything outside of the ride and guests that can somehow alter the speed of a vehicle? The crash occurred in the original PC version, with all official add-ons available. So how can we solve this? There's one possible answer. Answer 1. Without looking at the specific ride in question. There are a few possible causes. Guest weight variation. There is some variation in the weight of a guest. It is possible to create a dinghy ride that almost crashes with 2 average guests, where it will crash if 2 fat enough peeps happen to share a boat. You can prevent this type of crash by making sure that sections with strong lateral Gs and negative Gs use covered pipes. Note: the same underlying cause can cause boats to bump into each other if you have a slide with relatively high ride duration and/or relatively short minimum time between 2 dinghies leaving the station. This type of crash usually involves 2 or more dinghies crashing into each other, though one safety cutout. This particular breakdown stops the lift hill from working. If a dinghy is right at the top of the lift hill when the breakdown happens, it can stop right at the cusp of the hill. When the ride starts up again, this dinghy will start with a speed of 0 km per hour. Instead of starting with the speed of the lift hill, usually 8 km per hour, or 5 miles per hour. This may cause this one dinghy to not be able to complete the circuit, reversing, and flying off the track in reverse. You can prevent this type of crash by making sure that the dinghies don't go very slowly at any point except for the lift hill and the station. Long downward slope bug. Any drop with more than one steep downward slope may sometimes cause crashes, according to the RCT wiki. That same wiki notes that this particular dinghy ride does have a tendency to crash. 1. What usually happens here is that dinghy number 2, filled with heavier guests thus going faster, catches up to number 1 and bumps into number 1 on the top of a hill in the track, transferring its momentum to it. This usually happens near the top of a hill as the dinghies are moving slowest, so the distance between them is smallest there. Dinghy number 2 will then slide back down into the preceding valley. Dinghy number 3 can then hit number 2 at high speed as it's traveling fast in the valley, at which point both will explode. I hope this answer helped, and if it did, please drop a comment and subscribe.